The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think everyone who was due to attend to arrive today has turned up, which is great. Thank you very much for attending. My name is Bob Dickinson, and I'll be the product specialist who will be going through today's webinar with you. If this is the first time you've joined a webinar, welcome. Just to kind of go through a little bit of the admin at the start on how these webinars work. I'll be talking for probably around 55 minutes or so, just in regards to this particular topic. If you have any questions as we're going through, you should see a questions panel on the GoToWebinar console that you've got open. Do feel free to post anything in there. If there's anything I can answer in real time as I'm working my way through the webinar, I will try and answer it. Otherwise, there will be a short time at the end where I'll go through any questions, and also if you have any more, do feel free to pop them in, and I'll see if I can answer them for you. If you do have any issues with the visual side of things, you should now be able to see my screen. But if you can't, please pop it in the questions panel as well. And if you have any problems with the audio side, also just mention it, and I'll see if there's anything I can do in real time. Finally, we will be recording this session, so it's currently recording, and what I'll do, I have provided each organisation with a SFTP site, so I'll place the recording on that site, and you'll have a chance to re-watch it in the future or share it with anyone who wasn't able to attend today, if necessary. So today's topic is going to be an introduction to Hornbill. So the way this webinar will work is the first half of it I'm going to be focusing on the admin side of things, giving you an overview of the entry points to Hornbill is the very first thing. The second thing is going to be the admin tool that we have, so you can at least see where the configuration is performed. And the second half is mainly going to be focused on Service Manager, which is going to be the main application that most of our customers are likely to use and utilize. So I'll be going through the main areas of the configuration there, what you're going to be seeing, how to view your request list, how to raise a request, and what a request looks like. Okay, so the first thing to focus on is the entry points. Now, hopefully you've all been provided with your details for your own instance today. You can actually see during the webinars, what will happen is the people demonstrating them will be using their own instances, and my one here is called B Dickinson Demo. To access these instances and your instance, you've got four main URLs. The first one is live.hornbill.com, and this provides you with access to what we call the user app. Now, the user app is the collaborative console that your analysts or application users are going to be logging into and using on a day-to-day basis to manage the requests, log new requests, and effectively deal with all requests that are coming in. So you can see here, live.hornbill.com takes me to this home screen. So if I just simply log in, I'm going to log in with a user called Graham C here. And that takes me to the home page of the user app there, so the news feed, and we'll be looking at this in a little bit more detail later on. Now, the second access point is the admin tool. Now, you will need to have the relevant access to log into the admin tool, but in theory, once you've got the roles, which we'll talk about also in a moment, if you go to admin.hornbill.com / the name of your instance, I won't be asked to log in here because it's still using the session that I'm logged in as, Graham, but this takes me to the home page of the admin tool. You can see I've actually got quite a lot of access here in terms of all the applications, and this is what I'll be focusing on in the first half of today's session. This is mainly going to be the area to do a lot of the configuration and behind the scenes setup of Hornbill for whoever's going to be administering your instance once you go live. Now, the third and fourth entry points that we have are the portals. We provide access to two portals in Hornbill. We have what we call the service portal and the customer portal. Now, the service portal is primarily focused on internal members of staff to your organisation. So these are for people who are not analysts but would still be logging technical issues or whatever you are using Hornbill for, but they work for your organisation. And to access that, let's just give you a sneak peek of the service portal by clicking on service.hornbill.com. and then the name of your instance and pressing enter. And you can see there I've got a very basic service portal set up on my demo instance here. And as an end user, this is where I might come to actually start logging requests, looking at the services that I have that I've been subscribed to and I can consume, and also looking at, you can also view the requests that you've currently got logged, view services that are impacted, and various other features here, which we will be talking about in another webinar. Actually, we do have a webinar that is dedicated to portals, so do attend that one to learn more about the portal side of things. The final entry point is what we call the customer portal. Now, the customer portal I'm not going to be able to have access to here because the customer portal is designed for contacts or external people to your organisation. So as a company, you may support many external organisations, and within those organisations you're going to have external contacts. They actually use a different mechanism to log in terms of where it's stored in Hornbill, which is why I wouldn't be able to log in with this particular account. But if I just show you, I'd log out here and I'm just going to pop to the customer portal. And you can see it's just, again, customer.hornbill.com. Let's go. It's going to look very similar. And this is where you would go to log in. I don't actually have a customer set up at the moment, but again, we'll be showing you this when we come onto the portal side of things in far more detail than we are today. But when you do log into the customer portal, the functionality is pretty much the same as our service one. So if I just navigate back there and log back in with Graham, the very first view you see will be exactly the same. And there is some slight additional functionality you do get with the customer portal in the ability that you can view your entire organisation's requests if you want to grant that access to someone, which is something you don't actually get in the service portal because everyone works for the same organisation here. So if I just log back in, and there we are, so that's about my service portal. So that's the 4 main entry points. Now there is another entry point which you might want to start trialling if you're a part of a trial today, and that is your mobile application. Now with Hornbill you can actually access our own mobile app on iOS or on Android on the Play Store or the App Store respectively. It's just called Hornbill, so if you go in and download it, you're more than welcome to do that as part of the trial. And the mobile app is designed for the for your application users, for the people who are managing the calls, your analysts, however you want to describe them, basically the people that you are subscribing to Hornbill. So anyone, if you've got an end user who wants to log a call, they would just need to navigate to the URL via any type of mobile browser, but the app is specifically for your analysts so they can use the collaborative features on the go and manage requests on the go. You can look at the timelines, make updates and so on. So do download that, and it's quite an easy process. Obviously you will need to have your user account set up before you can do that, but that'll be something that will come very early in your switch on, so hopefully we'll get that done for you as soon as possible. Okay, so that's the main entry points, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to focus on the admin application. So I'm just going to navigate back here to admin.hornbill.com / the name of the instance, the Dickinson demo here. Okay, so what we actually have when you look at the admin application is, well, when we talk about Hornbill, Hornbill is a platform, and upon that platform sits different applications. So what you're actually looking at here is a number of applications that have been installed onto that platform. Now, system is just the system settings for the platform, so that is in its own right. But every one of these other ones is an application that has been installed. The collaboration app comes with every single Hornbill instance out of the box anyway, so that will already have been installed, and it's needed because you can collaborate across all the apps, so it is actually mandatory to have. However, these other ones have all been installed manually. To install them, if you click on this Add More Apps button, it takes you to the Hornbill App Store, and you can, from here, you can see what you've got installed, what you haven't got installed, the prices, some of the basic prices anyway of what the applications cost, and we've also even got a few coming soon options to let you know what's in the pipeline, and I know a few of these are actually very close to being released. So it gives you a little heads up on what's on its way. What you will also notice is we've got some of these update buttons. Now, Hornbill operates a continuous deployment approach when it comes to updates, or what you may refer to as upgrades. In that we don't have, you do not need to wait for months on end for the next update to come. It's not costly. Every update in Hornbill is fairly small, but it's continuous, it's free, and it's instantaneous. So once you've installed it, you don't need to have any of your users log off. You can do it at any point in the day, so it's not going to cause any negative impact if you did it at lunchtime, for example. And it's very quick and easy. You can actually see here on Service Manager, I've actually got an update on my instance, so I'm going to do that now. What I will also show you is if I go back to the home screen, it actually tells you when there's an update available here. And you can click straight from here and it takes you into the latest update. So you can see we're going to be updated to version 237 here. We've got a few new feature, a change and some fixes. Quite a small update, this one. But simply click update. And when this updates, if you've got any configuration, if you've got any customization, anything at all really, that's all retained. You don't lose anything with this. Any features that you've got set up and working will continue to work. And as I say, this can be installed at any point in the day. Now, this typically takes about 30 seconds to a minute and a half, depending on how large the update is. So you can see it's already got most of the way through. And if we just wait for a short moment, hopefully it'll finish. What you'll also see up here is this Update History tab, and you can actually see this on many of our, if I just duplicate this tab while that's loading, I'll just show you another one we've got. You can see if we click on any of these, we've got an update history on what's when it's been done and who's actually performed it, in case you needed to have a little bit of an audit about who pops in. You do need to have an admin role to do this. There we are, that's now been finished, and that was as quick as that. So Hornbill has been upgraded. So the advice and the recommendation is, if you do ever see an update on any of your apps, please do install it. There won't be any negative impact of not doing it, but it's best practice, because not only are you obviously fixing well, if there's any bugs, obviously they'll be fixed, but also new features are being introduced, which you can choose to use or not. And also some areas are also being introduced in preparation for additional new features. So it is definitely best practice to try and keep that updated as often as you can. We also have platform updates. Now, platform updates are actually automated, so they will happen overnight. You can actually change the window, but typically I think it's set up by default between 2 and 5 AM, and they will install automatically. And if we click on System here, you can actually see latest changes, which will give you information regarding the platform, and you will also see, they may have moved it recently, but we also have some admin tool updates as well. So the actual admin application, here we are, if we just neaten that up a little bit, Hornbill administration, you can actually see the updates to any new features we've got on the admin application, any fixes, any changes as well. So you can keep up with what's been updated for you. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to run quickly through a few of the settings you've got here. There's a lot here, so I'm not going to go through all of this today, but a lot of it is fairly intuitive and self-explanatory. And one thing, if you ever do get lost and you're looking for something up here, you've obviously got the search function. If you start typing in some letters, it gives you some information, so you can usually find it immediately, and it will take you straight to the section you're looking for. I'm going to click on the system. I'm going to show you a few of the main system preferences to begin with. And if you've got a brand new instance, this is where you may want to start setting up a few of your, a little bit of your structure and a little bit of the configuration you're going to need to get on your way. So what we have here, the first one is organizational data. Now, for those who are starting a switch on today, which I know there are a few, your product specialist will be going through your organizational data with you. Hopefully you've been provided with the templates and you've got some bits and pieces populated. As I say, your product specialist will be working with you to make sure your org structure is correct, and we can start getting that populated a little bit over the next day or two. But this is where they will be coming in with you. You can see the users here. This gives you all of the internal users in your application, not your contacts, not the externals, but these are the internal users. and you can see we actually have two different user types. We've got the type of user, which basically means one of the subscribers. So if you're looking to subscribe to 10 subscriptions to Hornbill, you'll be able to see how many subscriptions you've got and how many are currently being used, and that's if you set them to an account type of user. And we've also got basic. We don't actually have any basic users. The basic users are the people, the internal members of staff that you're actually supporting. So again, internal to your organisation, and you can have an unlimited number of them. And within a profile, again, I'm not going to go into this in too much detail, but if we have a look at here, you've got all the details. You've also got the roles. So this is where you actually will come in and allocate the relevant roles to the application users that you're setting up here. So you may obviously have admins who are going to have more roles than your standard help desk staff who may have fewer roles. Let me just come out of this. The roles themselves, you can actually have a little read through them. Now, when you install an application onto Hornbill, very much like if you install any application anywhere, you'll have your own set of roles and permissions. So with Service Manager, you will get a set. This is what we're looking at here, is an amalgamation of every role that's in Hornbill, but I can actually filter this out by clicking on this drop down, and it gives me all of the apps. So if I wanted to see just the Service Manager related roles and what's available, you can actually click on that, and you can see we've got all the Service Manager specific ones here. For example, Incident Management User. This role is for a user of incident management and includes the rights to view, edit and resolve incidents. That's likely to be very important for the majority of your application users. So you might want to allocate this. You've got some that supersede it, and so on. When you go into a role, you can actually see who's been assigned it from the role level by clicking on the Assigned Users tab over on the far right. Again, I'm not going to go into all the roles today, but do feel free to have a little read up on what you might want to be adding to each of your analysts. We've also got here the the organisational structure. Now, this isn't just kind of your hierarchy, but this is also where you define the support teams. And by a support team, you can see what we actually mean is a team by which a request can be assigned to. So you will likely have a structure of a support team, and within that support team you've got a number of analysts, and requests get assigned to a support team and ultimately assigned to an owner or assigned to one of those analysts, and they can be moved between support teams as relevant. The other areas here are more for your hierarchy, and if you're looking to do any reporting on a basic structure. And again, we'll be going through the creation of this in your first personal session. Sites. These are internal sites. Important to realise this isn't sites for your external organisations. These are sites that you might have internally for your company. And again, your analysts or your users can be assigned to sites. And user templates is just single sign-on, so we don't need to look at that just yet. So that's the org data, and that's where the main configuration of that is performed. Now, we also have security, and this is actually single sign-on. So if you are looking to utilise a single sign-on solution, in that you've got Active Directory and you've got a SAML 2.0 configuration, sorry, supported configuration, we can actually integrate that, and we can have your internal users signing on using their network credentials and not having to clip it a username and password in. Over here we've got the portals, so this is where you manage your portals, and you can see we've got options to customize the portals. Again, we'll come on to the details that are within them in your portal session, but this is where you would change your logos, your images, and any text that goes around the portal, so you don't have all of the default Hornbill branding. Working time calendars, this is where you would, if you're looking to configure targets and SLAs, this is where you might come in and create yourself a calendar with your standard working hours and any holiday exclusions. Again, we'll cover that a little bit later during any switch on. Settings, we have lots of settings in Hornbill. These are your platform settings, and once again, I'm not going to run through every one of these, but what will likely happen is based on some requirements and based on what you ask and bits you see on the forums, you may well want to make a few changes, and this may well involve changing a system setting. The nice thing about any setting in Hornbill is that when you make a change to it, it gives you this little orange icon. So you can actually revert it back to its default state, and you could also see just the ones that have been modified. You see I've only changed 3 of them out of the box here. So it quickly allows you to see the customizations you've made to your system. Email, quite important. We offer the ability to have up to 2 shared mailboxes, well, free of charge as part of your Hornbill subscription. This is where you come to configure those shared mailboxes with the outbound mail routing, the actual shared mailboxes themselves, and the services, whether it's IMAP or POP3. We can configure all of this here. And on top of that, we've also got the ability to create automated templates. We give you some out of the box, which you'll see on your system, but you can feel free to go and create your own and put your own branding against these templates. And these are templates, for example, that might get sent automatically once a call has been logged and sent out from your shared mailbox to a particular customer. And then also we've got the ability to add routing rules. Now what a routing rule is using an inbound email to either update or log a new request. Now there's some limited functionality on the logging of a request, but it does work quite well with the updates of requests. So if you wanted to automatically, say for example, add an email update to an existing request, if the subject of that email contains a call reference, a valid call reference, that can be set up in this way and hopefully reduce a little bit of the workload on the person or whoever is monitoring your shared mailbox. We've got language translation settings, so lots of translation in Hornbill. You can have a look at all, well, we've got hundreds of pages here worth of translations, and you've got some search filters that you can search on. If there's something that you want to be changed, you can see we've got different languages to translate these to. All sorts of bits and pieces. This is actually just done via Google Translate, but you can come in and make your own amendments to this. You can also add some more available languages. It's not just those ones that I've shown you in that drop-down. And finally, we've got the monitor section here. This allows you to look at log files. So again, if you're coming from another application where you are particularly interested in log files, if we click on that, we've got different various log files. The one which is the most important is the server service log. And from within here, you get completely up-to-date, full login of what's going on. Typically, if there's something that goes wrong, you can filter this by error, and you can see if there's any errors on the system. I've got a few background bits and pieces on my instance that need to be corrected, which is why I've got quite a few there, but do feel free to have a little look at your own. Okay, so we've already looked at the App Store and the latest changes, so I'm not going to cover that again, but what I am going to do, I'm just going to pop back to the home. Now, as I've mentioned, I'm not going to go through all of the settings for all of these apps, but the one I will focus on, because the majority of you will be using it, is Service Manager. Now, as I say, the system settings will be applicable to your entire instance. The Service Manager settings only are applicable to that particular app, and you'll see a little bit of repetition here. So you've got its own roles section, and here it will only show you those Service Manager ones. But, oops, just went back a little bit too far. You can see I'm using the navigation via the breadcrumbs, which is quite a nice, useful shortcut. But what we do have is some additional settings here, which are quite useful for you to know at least where they are to begin with. I know there's a lot to take in on this session, so don't worry too much if you're a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of detail, but it's useful to know where a few of these key areas are. Now the first one that I want to highlight today is the business process and progressive capture. If you're part of a switch on, you're going to be hearing a lot regarding process and capture, because it's one of the key areas to get set up for you to begin logging your instance in the first place, or logging your requests. And if you are joining us today from a Trained for Life session, you're probably well aware of a number of processes or progressive captures that your organisation is currently using. If I click on the business process, just to give you an example, this will show me all of the business processes that are currently being used on my system. Now, a business process is, in theory, in its simplest terms, the flow in which a request takes from the point at which it's logged to the point at which it's closed, or its life cycle. If I show you an example of one, for example, desktop instance here, when you open it up, you can see quite a visual canvas here. It's a little bit like a Visio flow diagram. But what we're actually looking at here is the different stages along the top of your flow for a desktop incident, some like clarification, and then resolution, and then feedback. And then within them, we've got what we call nodes. And these nodes are the actual content. So you can see here we're sending an email or assigning it to a team. We might have some suspend options. And all of this flow, and you can see the yellow ones are decisions. It's very much like a Visio flow diagram, which we kind of replicate here, but this is all having a functional impact based on the request that you've logged. We're going to be learning, as part of your switch on, to how to do all of this. We're going to be setting up your incident management business process. So you will fully understand, hopefully by the end of that webinar, exactly what all of these nodes are referring to and how you would go about setting them up and creating your own ones. Just moving back slightly, we've also got progressive capture. Now this looks very similar. When we pop into this one, you'll see we've got a number. We do give you some example ones out of the box. So if you have a look in your instance now, you'll see a few of these. If I clicked on new incident, which is one of the ones that you do have, you can see it's a lot simpler, but it's the same kind of layout. Now a progressive capture is different to the business process, because progressive capture is all about the information that you capture before the request has been logged. So if someone phones up, the questions that you go through to capture the relevant information from them on that step-by-step approach. Or if a customer is logging a call via the portal, it's the questions that they'll be presented on the screen, kind of one after the other, making sure you can ask different questions based on the answer to previous questions and so on. But it's ensuring that your analysts, by the time it gets to them, they hopefully got the majority of the information that they need to be able to start diagnosing and working on that request. So again, it's quite a user interface friendly approach. You can see it's just drag and drop really, and each of these nodes are containing different bits and pieces. So once again, as part of our business process and progressive capture webinar, by the end of that you'll have a much better understanding on how you configure this and how this works and interacts with Hornbill. But it's worth knowing that this business process and progressive capture is stored in the Service Manager app within the user, within the admin console. We've got more settings here. All of these are Service Manager specific settings, so do feel free to have a little look through them. Simple lists are quite important and quite a useful little function that we have in Hornbill. If you're working your way through the user app and you see a drop-down, the likelihood is it's going to be a simple list, which can be changed, added to, removed. But if instead of what you may be used to in terms of hard coding some type of on-premise interface, with a simple list, you create your own list. Let's have a look at, for example, our service category list. You can see we've got lots of different categories here, and I can manage it through here just by changing the name of it. I can add a new one, or I can select a number of them and delete it. So it's so easy for you to come in and add and remove areas to different drop-down lists throughout your well, it's not just throughout the user app, it's throughout the entire, anywhere that uses Service Manager. So that might be on the portal, that might be in the admin tool, that might be in the user app. Even further translations, you will notice the translations tab on every application, because when you install a new application, along with it comes a new bunch of translations that might need to be made. So do expect to see that on all your apps. And then we have the Advanced Analytics and Reports. Now, Advanced Analytics is our dashboard engine, our trending engine, and it contains measures, widgets and dashboards. Now Advanced Analytics is actually an additional chargeable application. You will be able to trial it during your switch on, but if you are looking to purchase this, it will be £200 per month as just a flat rate from the duration that you decide to subscribe for. And within Advanced Analytics, if we just pop into it, we've got four main areas, and they are kind of bottom up. So it starts with a measure, and the measure is some type of count of data that you are capturing over a period of time or a frequency that you define. So a nice example might be number of incidents logged per month, and at the end of each month it will do a count based on the criteria you've defined, and it will put it into it will record it. It will record each of those samples, so you can then compare month on month the number of incidents that have been logged. A widget is what you do with that data and make it like look good, look pretty in a chart or in a bar chart or in a graph, or even just a single count if you wanted. But a widget is what you do with the measure, and it's displaying the information in a graphical format. The dashboard is a collection of widgets. So again, you might have that widget which was instance logged per month based on the measure, but you might also have instance resolved per month. And then with a dashboard, you can display them on the same screen. And then once you've got a number of dashboards, so you might have an incident management dashboard, a service request dashboard, change management dashboard, and so on, you can put them in a slideshow. And a slideshow is what you would then typically display on your big screen, perhaps even in the office, which scrolls through. So if we have a look at an example slideshow I've got here, you can see you can define the actual dashboards themselves and the amount of time each one is on the screen for. Let's play it. So there we are. What you'll see here is actually that's 5 different widgets all displaying different counts here, and after a number of seconds that will automatically scroll through to the next screen. So we've got all sorts of charts going on, tickets raised per day, tickets raised per source, and you can actually make them look really smart, and you can capture a hell of a lot of information from the back end. Now, we do have a dashboards and reporting webinar, so if you're interested in beginning to learn on how to create a few of these, which I would advise that you attend and subscribe to that particular webinar. I'm just going to escape that. So that's the analytics. But if you don't want that, we do also have our standard reports, which are over here. And a standard report is more just your list of information, your list of data. So if I wanted to have a look at, say, this assets by class, we've configured this report. If I download one of these, download HTML, you can also download these to CSV. But what you can actually see is a list of all of our assets in our system. We've kind of grouped them up at the top by class here. We've got 7 computers, 3 mobile devices, 1 printer, and so on. And then a list as well, if you want. You can get even more advanced with this, but you'll see that it's more for the data extraction of Hornbill as opposed to your dashboards and trending, which is the visual representation and trends in Hornbill. Okay. So there is more to the admin tool than that, but I will leave it there for the time being. There is a lot for you to kind of go and have a little click on and see how you get on there. What I'm going to do for the second half of the session is I'm going to focus in our user app and specifically on Service Manager. Now, to get to the user app, I could simply click in live.hornbill.com, but there is a little shortcut for you which you might want to utilise. I know I certainly do it quite often. If you are logged in already, if you click on your profile picture at the top here, you will have this option for Hornbill Collaboration, which is just another word for our user app. If some people call it the collaboration app. It will open up a new tab and take you straight to the live.hornbill.com and then your instance that you're logged into. And vice versa. If you do it from here, you can also access the administration app from there as well. So it will save you having to kind of consistently either use shortcuts on your browser or type in different words into the URL. So when we log into the user app, the first thing, again, bear with me with this because I'm not going to go through all of this information today. We do have another webinar. One of our 6 webinars is looking at collaboration specifically. So there's a lot to collaboration, and you'll probably use a lot more of it than you initially think. But what you will see when you log in, everyone will see, is the newsfeed. And the newsfeed is kind of your social interactions feed. It's the social objects you're following. Now, again, if you're used to LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, you will probably be familiar with this type of kind of chronological news feed in regards to the information that you're interested in appearing at the top of it. But in Hornbill, obviously, it's a business application, and this is mainly going to be in relation to perhaps requests that you're following, assets that you're following, documents that you own, workspaces, which we'll have a little further look at during your collaboration session. But it can be really anything that you can follow. It's what we call social objects. And you can also see you've got the ability as part of the collaboration side of things to be making your own posts to your buzz, which is really your wall as such. So if I put here, again, hi all, again, not a particularly great example, but if I post it, you see that post to my buzz, and anyone following me would see that. You've got the ability to like a post to kind of give that interaction. You can comment on a post. I'm just going to comment, let's just do a smiley face or something along those lines. And on top of that, one of the nice features which I like to show you immediately is the mentions. So if you put an @ sign, what you can do is you can actually mention any other user who exists on your platform. So any other coworker. So for example, if I want to mention Beverly here, I can put that and I can say something along the lines of, do we have a cab meeting today? Again, I might want to put that as its own post, but just to show you what that now means is that Beverly will receive a notification to tell her that she's been mentioned. She can click on that notification and it will take her straight to this particular post. And the notifications themselves are up here. This little hornbill bell tells you I've got 6 outstanding. I can have a look at these notifications. I can minimize one. I'm not sure why it's showing 6 actually. There's only 4. Perhaps a small bug there. But I can dismiss it once I've looked at it. You can see I've got a task here, perhaps I can click into that. And you can see the task. If I had a mention, what would also appear here is a little number 1, and I could filter all my notifications just to see the ones that I've been mentioned in. You've even got the option to see the dismissed ones, so the ones that you clear, you can still see a history of any notifications that you've got. So worthwhile getting used to that, because you will want to keep track of your notifications, because it is Hornbill's main method of communication. Up in the top right, you've also got your profile, and we'll cover all the settings in your profile in more detail during the collaboration session. But if you want to have a little look at your profile, you can kind of come here and you can scroll through, look at your own settings, change your picture, which is something that we also advise in Hornbill, is to have an image if you can. It makes it a lot clearer when you're looking at different timelines, posts, workspaces, and so on. But as I say, we'll cover this in far more detail come Thursday or Friday. I think it's actually Friday session is our standard collaboration session. A couple more areas just before we pop into Service Manager. The first one is the global search bar at the top, and this allows you to perform searches everywhere. So if you were looking for a particular request, you can type in a keyword, VPN, you can type in a reference, you can type in anything you want and it will bring back all the requests that match that. And you've also got this little arrow where you can do some additional filtering based on that, the type of request, the status of the request and so on. But you'll also see various other options here, all of which you will hopefully by the end of your 30 days you will have had a trial and you will understand exactly what they mean. And hopefully most of it's fairly intuitive anyway, so do feel free to have a little play around on that. Okay, so this is the home screen that you will get when you log into Hornbill for the first time. I'm going to be looking at Service Manager. Now Service Manager appears on this left-hand bar over here. Now this left-hand bar roughly indicates the apps that you have installed and also if you've got access to them. So obviously you could have an application installed, but you may not have been granted a role, and if so, you won't see that application on this left-hand side here. If you have been granted the role, hopefully you will see it. And the one that we'll be looking at over here is Service Manager, which is this little guy with the headset, and you can kind of see some of the information that's against this here. Now if I click on this directly, it takes me to the request list, which is the top option there. So let me just do that. Now the request list is going to be the main area for your analysts to manage their requests in terms of the queues, the teams they're in, or the status of the request itself. Now again, there's a fair bit to this. I'm going to cover some of the main points, but a lot of it is self-explanatory and intuitive, and as soon as you've had 5 minutes kind of clicking around on this, hopefully you'll pick up exactly what it all does and what it means. But if I show you some of the key features, it will certainly get you on your way today. The first ones are quick filter. So again, if I had a long list, let's have a look at all my services here. See 68 requests here. If I wanted to just have a look at any VPN request, I'll type in VPN, It's going to bring back anything that's got the word VPN in the summary or the details of the request there. That will also work on names, customers, owners, and so on. If I clear that, you've also got some of the quick filters in regards to the status of the request. So click on that and it will only show the open ones, for example. Over here, we've got different types of requests and being able to filter it on that basis. Now in Hornbill, you have 5 out-of-the-box types, which are incident, service request, problem, known error, and change. Depending on what you're looking to use Hornbill for, you might want to use all 5 of them. Some people just want to use instant management. It's completely up to you. Based on your role, that will define what you see here in terms of what you can filter. So if you've been granted, as an analyst, an instant management user role, but you've not been granted a change management user role, you're not going to see that option to be able to filter by. If I wanted to have a look at my service requests, I'd just click this one, and you can see it's filtered all the green service requests. You can tell the service request because it's got the green icon, and also because they begin SR, or change requests begin CH, and so on. You can change those prefixes, by the way. If you're looking to do that, please ask your product specialist, and they will guide you on how to make any amendments to the prefixes if you want to. Clicking on all gives me all of the requests once again. This section here is some of our kind of out-of-the-box quick filters, which you will probably use on quite a frequent basis. My requests shows you any requests that you are actually the owner of. So I'm logged in as Graham Clark here. You can kind of see that Graham is the owner of all of these ones. So these are all the ones that Graham's been assigned. I'm following. We give the option to follow the request, even if you're not the owner or you're not even in the team. If you have a request that you're interested in, you can click to choose to follow it, and this will show you all of those ones that you're following. I'm a member is very similar to what I'm following, but it's the ability for perhaps the owner of a request to assign someone who should have a vested interest in this. So for example, if I have a service request come in, which I know is likely to make its way to become a change, I might want to add the change manager to give them a heads up and let them have a little read through this. So I could add them as a member. I'll be showing you how to do this very shortly. Now, all my teams is in relation to the support teams that you're assigned. As an analyst, you may be a member, well, you'll be a member of a minimum of 1 team, but you could be a member of as many teams as you want, or as many teams as you've been assigned. Graham here is a member of 6 teams, and you can kind of see all 6 of them down here. If I click on first line support, you can see these are all the ones that are assigned to first line support. You can actually see the team column there, which is quite interesting. So let me skip to that section now. In terms of these columns along the top, first of all, they're all sortable. So you can just click the column name and it will sort it. Nice and easy. Let me do it by reference. But we've got an option over here, this little cog on the right, to be able to customize these columns. So if you click on this, you can actually make some additional ones available. So I wanted to see the team in which my request is assigned, so I'm just going to click that. And on top of that, I also want to change the order of those columns. So I'm just going to drag this to second in my list, click on save, and there we are. There's my team, and you can kind of see these are all the ones that were assigned to first line. So my filter has correctly worked. And just to prove it, let's just choose second line. There we are, and they're all the second line ones. So a nice little touch there, and that's also the way to customize your columns. These customized columns and pretty much everything on this request list is on an analyst by analyst basis. So it's not one admin going in and changing it for everyone. It's making it so the analyst who's logged in chooses the view and chooses the configuration that works best for them on their day-to-day basis. And all my teams simply shows you all the requests from all the teams that you've actually been, you're actually a member of. So you can see a whole mixture of them, and I could sort it by team again if I wanted to. On the views, this views here is a nice additional feature, which again, hopefully you guys will start using pretty much immediately, which allows you to create your own filters. And once again, these are specific to the user, these are specific to the individual. So for example, I might click on add new here, and I might be interested in all of the medium priority incidents. So I'm going to create one here called medium priority incidents. And I'm going to start building up a little bit of criteria which matches this. So the first one, if I add this condition, is going to be the priority is, and then it gives me a list of my priorities that I've got set up. These priorities can be changed, and your product specialist will be going through this with you on your first session. And obviously I don't want changes or service requests appearing. It is incidents I'm interested in. So let's click on request type is incident. Simple as that. Click save. Now hopefully, if I have a look, you can see all of these are incidents. They're all the orange one, and the priority there is medium. I could have added in even more filters now. I could have put the status is open, or I could choose a particular owner. You've got lots and lots of options. And once you've created one of these kind of custom views, you can see it's then saved for you to use again and again. You can come in, you click this little cog to edit it if it's not quite right for you. You can make a copy of it to make it, if you've got a large one and you just need to make a copy and change one small area. If I create a copy, I could maybe call this low priority instance and simply change that to low. Click save. And now I've got my low priorities, and that's saved as its own option there. And the other nice touch you've got is you can also click on the share option. And so you, as a service desk manager, you might create a number of these views and decide to actually share them with an entire team. And you can pick multiple teams to share these views with. And once you've shared a view, you can actually have a look at the ones you've had shared with you as the person who's logged in. And you can kind of see I've got two that someone else has shared with me there, which is good stuff. So it might save you a little bit of time if you want to create some common views. A couple of other minor details here. You can, based on the view you're currently looking at, you can export this to CSV, pick the columns you want and simply click export. So you've got an immediate report of just of the information you're looking at. And also, you can also set your home request list view. Now this isn't your home view for when you log in, but this is, if you clicked on this request list, I could choose to set this current view as my home. And what that means is, if I come out of this and go back to the home and simply click that, that's always going to be my home, my default home view, the first thing that I see as soon as I click on the request list. So useful if you want to have that consistency every time you're looking at your own request list there. Okay, a couple more areas to cover today. The first one is going to be the raising of a new request. Now again, you can raise a request from an email, you can raise a request from the portal, or you can raise an ad hoc request from Service Manager, which is what I'm going to show you. Up in the top right, anywhere in Service Manager, you will see this Raise New button. Now, if you raise new, what that's going to do is it's going to simply kick off a progressive capture, which is going to be quite generic because we don't know the type of request yet. If you don't know if it's an incident, a service request, a change, for example, you might want to choose to click the Raise New button. What I suggest is, if you can, click on this little arrow next to it. And this gives you the type of request you're raising, because it makes it a little bit more direct. It saves a few clicks in having to pick the type later on in your progressive capture, and it makes it a little bit easier to configure as well, as you'll see in the coming weeks. So if I was going to raise a new incident, I would select new incident. And then this kicks in the progressive capture that I was talking about earlier on. So you have a number of questions that you progressively ask the customer, and they capture the information one by one. So if I was on the phone to a customer now, and I knew who I was speaking to, let's say Steve Robinson, I'm going to move my way through, summary description, what is the issue he's got. You might just put laptop, let's say laptop won't turn on, put a summary description. All of these captures, these are completely customizable. You can put your own questions in, you can change the order, you can do everything you want with these. And this is just the default I'm working through at the moment. The service list is important because you will be offering different services potentially. You may not just offer one, but you'll have at least one service. It is called Service Manager. So everything is defined via the service. I might choose desktop support. You might even have individual kind of mini catalog items so individual requests that are based on that particular service. I'm just going to choose desktop support here and move my way on. And again, you might have a priority to select at this point. So let's say it's a low priority and click finish. That's a very basic progressive capture. We've captured the very basic information. It's logged my ticket. And when I click on view here, this will now open up the request for me to begin working on as an analyst. Again, if the customer had logged this via the portal, they would have some access to view some of the details on this, but we are looking at this in the user app from the point of view of the analyst, of the person who will be working on this. Now, the first thing to notice is this green bar along the top. Now, this is what we call a heads-up display. This is the way of showing the customer exactly, and the analyst, I should say, or anyone looking at the request, exactly where they are in the business process. So if you can see this heads-up display, it means that a business process has been associated to that request. You have the stages. You may recall that I showed you a few different stages earlier on in a business process. You can see that's the reflection of them here. And then below them, we have what we call checkpoints. And a checkpoint is an individual component of that stage, which you work your way through to move on to the next stage. So you can kind of see here, I've automatically sent an email to Steve. A team has automatically been assigned. You can see first line support over here. The priority has been set because we did that during the progressive capture, but an analyst hasn't been allocated yet. That's the last thing that we're waiting on to be able to move this on. You can see some information about the request that was logged here in the information box. This is in terms of the team, the owner, whether it's logged on, the date logged, the status, and also if you've got any SLAs, which we haven't on this one. But the information regarding that was captured during the progressive capture, you can find in other places. So the customer information, you can go straight to his profile. You've got his phone number and contact details there. The details signify the information regarding the summary and description that we captured. The source, was it an email? Was it via the portal? Was it via an analyst? You've got some category information, further category information, the site, if you've selected a site during progressive capture, or if it's just using the customer's default site, and so on. And you can actually edit this. Anywhere you see this little icon, which looks like a notepad and pen, that allows you to come in and perform edits to that particular area. So that's the details. And the other key area of a request is the timeline. Now the timeline is a bit like your audit of the request, and it shows you the history, what's already happened, who's performed the update, the source of it, the visibility, whether or not you want these updates visible on the portal. But what you'll notice with this timeline is it's using the collaborative features that we kind of talked about earlier on, which is consistent the whole way through Hornbill. So if you decide to open up a document in Hornbill, you'll be able to comment on it, you'll be able to like it, you'll be able to collaborate. If you open an asset, or if you've got Configuration Manager installed, you'll be able to do exactly the same thing. You will notice this is the common theme between the collaborative platform of Hornbill, is that we allow, or we have these like and comment and these timelines or buzz feeds everywhere throughout the platform. So again, this is probably a better place where you might want to mention someone. Might just say exactly the same. Let's mention Alan and just say, have you seen this? And Alan will get a notification. He might come in and he might like that. But going back to just working your way through the request, obviously we're still in this first stage and we want to make our way to the second stage. So what we actually need to do is assign an analyst. And this is kind of dynamic in that once we've assigned an analyst, it will automatically update, move its way through and be in the next stage. So let's do that. These are our actions along the top of the request, and you'll be learning far more about these as we work our way through the switch on. And again, many of them are fairly self-explanatory, but the one which we're looking at today is assign. And this gives us the teams that we've defined in the admin tool and the analysts that are within that team. So I'm going to actually just assign this to myself. What you'll also notice when you're making these assignments is you can see the status of these analysts and whether they're online or offline or busy, and this is set in your own profile. So if you go into your profile, you can change your status to define whether or not you're busy or you're online and so on. So I'm just going to assign it to me, click assign, and what we should notice is along the top here we've finished the first stage, it's moved on, and we're now in the second stage. We're just really, this second stage is just waiting for the issue to be resolved. Before we resolve it, we might need to do a little bit of work on it. We might need to reassign it and do all sorts. So you might want to put an update onto the request. Let's just put ask the customer to retry, waiting on response. I can put that, and you'll see that just pushes the that update onto the timeline. Oh, we see we've got an SLA now. That's kicked off. Now we've also got an assignee. And you can also see this is how you put a call on hold by clicking the pause button here and choosing when you want it to go on hold until, but given a reason there. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these options today, but to show you some of the main ones, if you want to add an attachment to a request, you can do this here. You can simply drag this into, drag an attachment into the box, or you can select it from your computer. You can link a request to another request if you have the reference or a keyword. For example, that would be very useful if you have a problem request and you want to link it to multiple incident requests. Shared mailbox, this is when you send your, when you set up a shared mailbox, you can actually send an email from it. So this is going straight to the customer, and it's going to be coming from that shared email address, which all of your analysts will be sending from, so it kind of reduces the need to give out individual ones. We've got the ability to change the customer if needs be. We've got some information here in regards to assets, which we'll be covering. Again, we have a whole asset webinar. Escalation, if you need to change the priority, you can do that here. But the one we're interested in is resolve. And you can see what's actually waiting on. It's just being suspended until this request has been given a resolution. So I might just come in here and just say, press and hold the reboot button, the laptop turned on. Simple as that. Click resolve, and what you will notice here, oh actually, sorry, this is a slightly different way that they've configured this particular business process on our demo kit, my apologies, but this has actually got a task assigned to it. Down here, we have tasks. Now in Hornbill, tasks are individual components that you might want to dish out to other areas of the business. So you can keep the call assigned to you, but you might have various tasks that go out. So for example, if you had a new starter process, you might have a task that goes to whoever looks after your AD to add them to Active Directory. You might have a task that goes out to your procurement team to order that person a new laptop, and so on. We've got a task here that's just been assigned to the owner of this request. So if I open up this and just simply come in and complete this, let's say issue resolved. You can see that's now gone through. Let me just make sure that's fully done. I think it was just being a little bit slow there. But there we are. The issue's now been resolved. We had an extra stage on here, which was feedback requested, which would have basically generated a new task had this been a high priority incident, because that's what we set up in our business process. We said if it was a high priority incident, have a new task that's generated, assigned to the owner just in case an incident review is required there. In this case, because it was low, it wasn't, so it went ahead, it completed it, and now you can see the status is closed. The business process is fully completed. It's got the tick on the end which shows the process is completed, and along the way the timeline has also been updated with the times it happened and by who performed the particular updates. Okay, so that takes us up to 3 o'clock just about, slightly longer than anticipated, but hopefully that gives you a good overview of at least the basics today. As I said earlier on, I do appreciate that there is a lot to take in, especially with a new system. So if there are any questions, I will just put myself on mute for a minute, and if you want to post them up, do feel free. Okay, doesn't look like there's any questions today, which isn't a problem. Just to let you know, for those people who are have started to switch on this week, your product specialist will be in touch with each of you to organise your first personal session. I understand a few people have also signed up for some of the webinars tomorrow, so we look forward to speaking to you again there. But yeah, the personal session will organise something individual for each of the organisations who have attended today to start looking at the data import templates that you might have populated, and also setting up the initial organisational configuration and some of the basics for you to get on your way. But all that leaves for me to say is thank you very much for joining today. I hope it's been useful, and I look forward to speaking to you all again soon. Okay, thanks very much and goodbye.